Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I get to identity theft, there's another issue that I would like to talk to MBNA about, and that is what some of us call the bait and switch process that many credit card companies are currently engaged in. Mr. Kallstrom, let me just read to you from an article that appeared in the New York Times, well, summarize an article that appeared in the New York Times on May 29th. And the essence of the article was that it appears that all over this country, companies, including your company, do a bait and switch. You send out solicitations to people asking them to accept your credit cards at a certain interest rates. And then month after month, these people pay the bill that they owe you. So let's say they have a 5% interest rate and they pay you every month the $200 that they owe you, whatever it is. And suddenly, lo and behold, 5 months later, after having paid on time every month what they owe you, the interest rates go sky high. And when they inquire as to why that is so, and many of them, of course, don't inquire, they don't notice what's been happening, they find out that somebody will tell them, well, yeah, you've paid us on time, but you borrowed additional money. We're sorry somebody in your house was sick and you needed additional money, and yes, you've always paid us on time, but nonetheless, we are going to double or triple your interest rates. Please explain to me why you think this is moral, acceptable behavior when somebody month after month has paid you on time what they owe you. Why do you change the rules of the game and double or triple their interest rates?
I read that article in the New York Times also. For the record, I would say that we do not bait and switch. What we do is we assess risk and we give unsecured loans to people to better their life and to carry on and live in the world we live in today. I wouldn't necessarily believe everything I read in the New York Times.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Let me finish my answer, please. And people's situations do change, and we're assessing risk. There's a lot of oversight on us. There's a lot of good reasons. There's hundreds of reasons why we should assess.
Well, let me ask. No, I will give you your time, sir. The problem here, as you know, is we're limited in time. I wish we had.
Let me just finish the answer in 30 seconds.
Yes.
So from time to time, you know, we do assess risk. We always pre-notify the customer as to the conditions that are going to change. We always give them the opportunity to just say no. We give them the opportunity to pay off that account at the existing rate and close their account, or keep the account open at the new rate that the risk has brought us to. And that's good business practice, good ethical practice, and that's what we do.
What percentage of the people that you deal with who have your credit cards do you change interest rates on?
You know, we're in a competitive market, sir, that changes all the time for competitive reasons.
No, I asked you a simple question.
I don't have an exact percentage of how many.
And what percentage of the people do you think actually know? People get a lot of stuff. Among other things, they get 5 billion solicitations a year from credit card companies. What percentage of the people who you send out this information to do you think actually know?
Well, I believe the vast majority on that point know, because we highlight it. We set it off in sharp colors. But you're right about disclosures. People don't actually know what a lot of those things say, particularly the Graham Leach Bliley ones, because no one can understand what they say.
But I would suspect that many people who see their interest rates change. I want to get back. You say you're not into bait and switch, but what you are into is changing the interest rates on people, even though they have paid you every single month. Now, if I do business with you and I pay my bill on time to you every month, and I pay you what I owe you, why do you think you have the right to double my interest rates?
Because we must assess risk on the portfolio.
Even though I have paid you
and you might have gone and borrowed $50,000 from somebody else, and you're not paying it back. So, I mean, in this day and age we live in, we have to look at the total.
In other words, what you are doing is punishing people who have paid their bills because you think they may not, even though they have always kept their word and their contract with you. I think that that's wrong.
We are giving unsecured loans, sir, and we're giving them notice if they do not want that additional interest rate.
I suspect, and you haven't answered.
Every occasion we're giving them notice.
Excuse me, sir. You have not answered me in terms of how many people do not even know that their interest rates would change, and I suspect many do not.
I agree the vast majority do know.
Well, even the vast majority. You're dealing with large numbers of people. You can say that even if the, excuse me, even if the vast majority is true, there will be many, many thousands of people who simply every month who assume that because they pay their bills on time do not anticipate an increase in interest rate. I'll bet you that there are thousands of people who are paying you far higher interest rates than they anticipated. Thank you. I have a limited time. I would love to discuss the issue. I really would, but we have a limited amount of time.
I would also.
Ms. Duncan, do you have thoughts on that practice?
Well, we agree with your concerns that there are consumers, and I read the article as well, that there are consumers out there who are, regardless of their payment history with the particular lender, are possibly seeing their rates skyrocket. And also, I mean, it's quite possible that that increase in rates, I mean, if you look at a consumer who has been responsible in the past, you could possibly assume that they'd be responsible in the future. And in making those rates go up like that, that could very well be the proverbial last straw that broke the camel's back.
And there are instances, as I understand, where that practice has driven people into bankruptcy. Let me ask Mr. Lundy, thank you, Ms. Duncan. Let me ask Mr. Lundy a question. When we discussed, you discussed with the chairman your opposition to providing consumers with free credit reports. You mentioned the cost, and obviously there is a cost, and we don't know what the cost will be. But how can you tell the consumers of this country that they're not entitled to free credit reports when just in 2002, MBNA just happened to have enough money in that year to pay their 4 top executives $308 million? Now, don't you think that maybe if they wanted to cover the cost of informing consumers all over this country what their credit reports were, maybe they could take a little bit cut in salary? Do you think that might be possible? Just a little bit. We don't want to put them on welfare, but $308 million for the top 4 execs, you know, what can I say?
Sir, I can't discuss, of course, the salaries of MBNA. However, we are not opposed to free credit reports to consumers with conditions. We believe that all consumers knowing what's on their credit reports is very important. We don't believe that the price that we charge a consumer, which is $9 or less in some states, is prohibitive for consumers who have no conditions to actually get their credit file report. The majority.
I would certainly agree with you. It is not prohibitive, but there will be a heck of a lot of people who will not pay the $9 who, if they got it for free, might learn that they were a victim of identity fraud. Let me get back to Mr. Kohlstrom, because maybe you want to tell the people in terms of cost. What do you think about $308 million in 1 year for the top 4 executives?
Well, look, I don't know exactly what their compensation was. I can tell you. I can tell you that's not salary.
That's total compensation. I can tell you that
someone like Al Lerner, who you talked about earlier, who's an American patriot, who served this country in Korea, who grew up in the back room of a candy store in Brooklyn.
I'm not making any disparaging remarks. I'm talking about,
excuse me, capital in a small company.
What do you think, when we hear over and over again, and we heard it from Mr. Lunding, I'm not disparaging anybody or the patriotism of anybody, but there are a lot of Americans who are a little bit concerned because they are going bankrupt in record numbers about excessive executive salaries. And I just read you something that the top 4 executives in your company earned in 2002.
Sir, with all due respect, those are not salaries.
Compensation packages is what I'm talking about.
They're not salaries.
I said it 5 times.
They chose to sold some stock in the company that they built at a time. And you're taking a point in time.
That's right.
And you're making a point.
I'm making a point that in 2002, your top 4 executives made over $300 million.
It's not salaries.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.